Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. And so, as usual, I have posted our attendance link in the chat. So those of you who are attending, please click on that and we will get you marked as attended. Today we have Somerville Company here to present to us. So we have Barry Burgess here from Somerville. And as usual, for those of you who have attended to our previous meetings, we usually have a Q&A at the end after his presentation. So if everyone would, for common courtesy, mute yourselves so we can give our attention to Barry.
Ready for me? Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen here, get my PowerPoint going here. Give me just a second. If I'm smart enough to figure it out. Do you see it? You don't?
No.
Try again. How about now?
Well, I see blue, like a background.
Okay, I did the wrong screen. How about now?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Move this out of my way. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm usually there on campus talking to you in person, so these are unusual times. I usually like to play some games, which we won't be able to do today because of the virtual nature. But I am thrilled to speak to you today. My name is Barry Burgess. I'm managing partner of Somerville Company. I'm a 1985 Marshall graduate, a proud Marshall graduate. I've been with Somerville Company my entire career. Started as an intern back in my senior year and been here ever since. I'm 57 years old. I've been here for 35 years. I've got a lot of experience and a lot of opinions, neither of which may be worth anything, but I'm going to try to share some of them with you today. Somerville Company is a local accounting firm here in Huntington. We've been around since 1932. We're a traditional accounting firm that provide all the services you would typically see at an accounting firm: taxation, auditing, accounting, bookkeeping, payrolls, consulting, just about anything associated with accounting, business, or taxes, we're involved in it. Our firm is full of Marshall graduates. We're a big supporter of Beta Alpha Psi, Marshall University. We participate in Meet the Professionals and Visit the Firms. And one of my partners was on doing interviews yesterday for our spring internship. We always have interns each spring semester where we do a sponsorship. We're very active. And I really enjoy speaking to the students. One of these days, I'm probably going to be too old to do this, but I really enjoy it and hope you can relate to me a little bit if you can be patient with me. Last year, I spoke on financial literacy. This year, they gave me a list of topics and I looked through them and they're all good and very specific. I kind of put something together on my own that's a little bit broader, but I think I'll tie it into some of the specific things that they had in their list. The name of my presentation, I can get my mouse to work, is Stuff an Old Bald Guy Told Me Back in 2020. These are life lessons from my experience. I am not an expert on anything, especially life. I have struggled. Much of what I'm going to discuss today is things that I have been challenged with and kind of wish maybe I had known many years ago when I was possibly your age or at least younger than I am now. A lot of them are kind of cliche-ish. And if I were you, I'd probably be sitting there thinking, here we go, blah, blah, blah. But I'm asking you to hear me out. And I'm guessing that if some of these don't strike a chord with you now, at some point in your life, you may remember, hey, that's some of the things that old bald guy told me back in 2020. Here's the old bald guy if you don't want to listen to him, you can listen to a rock star. This is what I was last year when I came to Beta Alpha Psi. It was on Halloween. I dressed up as Gene Simmons from Kiss. I'm a huge Kiss fan and Gene Simmons fan, and participate in lip sync competitions and things like that. So you pretend like you can pretend like you're listening to him if that makes it better for you. Okay, here's my take on things. And we're going to talk about life in general, and I divide life into two components, personal, and personal starts with you. And then from you associate with your family, your friends, and your associations, okay? The same thing applies in your career. It starts with you. You have the company you work for, your coworkers, and your colleagues. So it's kind of a mirror here. Both personal and career start with you. Your personal family is kind of the company you work for in your career. Your friends in your personal life are your coworkers in your career. And the associations that you have, these are the organizations and clubs and churches and things you belong to. You have colleagues in same type of organizations in your career. But what ties this all together is it's about you and relationships. And that's something I didn't realize when I was younger, that so much about life, personal and career, is about relationships and how you deal with other people and how you learn from them and accept them and influence them and are influenced by them. And I think it's very important that you remember that as you go through your current situation and move on in life, that it's about the community and the colleagues and the friends and the family and the other people. It's not just about you. Now, I've divided my thoughts into three topics. The first one are realities you cannot change. This is a little bit of a Debbie Downer topic. It's just things I think you need to realize as a young person, that there's just certain things that are real, the parameters that we work in, and you can't change them. Then I'm going to talk about some behaviors that I would recommend you embrace, which I think will help lead you to the opportunity to be successful and happy. And then the mindset that you need to have to try to pull that all together. And I'll summarize all this when we get to the end, but just bear with me here if you don't mind, because I think some of this stuff will make sense to you. And if it doesn't make perfect sense to you now, it may make sense to you later. Realities that you cannot change. If you've ever heard me speak before, I always say this: you cannot be anything you want. I'm sorry, but you can't. If any of you watch American Idol, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who want to be the next American Idol. There's only one per season. Just because you want something doesn't mean you're going to get it. And you're just setting yourself up for frustration if you think it's that easy. You have the ability to try for anything you want, but you're not necessarily going to get it just because you want it. And you're not entitled to something just because you want it. That's just the way things are. Wanting it does not necessarily mean you deserve to get it, and doesn't mean you won't get it, but it's not that simple as just saying I want it, therefore I should get it. Unfortunately, whether you're in accounting or whatever career you're in, or relationships, they are not easy. There's nothing easy about any of this stuff. And as a matter of fact, life's not easy. If you expect life to be easier or to get easier as you get older, you're going to be really disappointed, because it's not. It's just the way it is. And it's not fair. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Things don't always go your way. I'm a believer that over time, things tend to balance out. But generally, if you can accept these realities, you're not going to be disappointed, because you know the parameters that you're working on. This is a little bit of a reality check. I know it's a little bit of a downer, but I believe fundamentally those are things you need to be aware of. You're going to find that most people are nice. A few are buttholes. Okay, it's just the way it is. Whether it's in your family, your friends, your work environment, most of the people you have relationships and deal with are going to be super nice people. You're going to come across a few who are not. Don't waste too much energy on the ones that are not. Focus your time on the people that are nice and have a positive influence. Most people are reasonable. A few are not. You're going to find that as you go through life. And there again, don't waste a whole lot of energy or emotion on the ones that are not, because you're not going to gain any ground. Pick and choose your battles and try to influence people who are reasonable and want and value your opinion. Things aren't always how they look. We are very judgmental as human beings. We look at a situation and quickly try to judge whether someone's behaving improperly, or they shouldn't have done that, or they should do this. And I'm just saying, you don't always know where the other person's coming from. They may be dealing with a real struggle at home, personally, physically, mentally. There's more to it than maybe what you see on the surface. So don't be too quick to judge, because there's things maybe going on that you're just not able to see. Experience is where the significant lessons are going to be learned. You're getting educated right now at Marshall. I'm sure you're getting a great education. Education is a pinpoint of the lessons that you're going to learn in your lifetime. Experience is where the lessons are learned, and those experiences a lot of times are tough lessons that you learn from mistakes that you make, more so than just studying a particular situation. Lifelong learning is not optional. When I graduated from Marshall, I thought I knew everything I ever needed to know about accounting. I mean, that was naive and stupid, or I shouldn't say stupid, naive and ignorant. I just didn't know any better. I literally learned something new every single day of my life, because as fast of a paced world as we live in, with technology and the technical world that I operate in as an accountant, I'm constantly learning new things. And you have to embrace that, because if you think you're done and you're not open to being challenged and learning new things, you're going to become left behind very, very quickly. And the last reality is you are here. If you've ever been at the mall and you're looking for a particular store or restaurant, you find one of the marquee maps and it's got the little red dot that says you are here. That's kind of where we are in life. You are wherever you're at, okay? How you got there really doesn't matter. Why you're there really doesn't matter, but that's where you are. And it's up to you to figure out whether you move forward, whether you move backwards, where you stay where you are. It's up to you. Don't focus on where you've been too much, where you think you're going too much. Focus on where you are and how you're going to get to the next stage that you want to get to. Okay, so those are the realities that I think we all operate under. Some are very common sense. Some of them you may not have thought about before, but these are all my opinion. I'm not an expert, as I said in the beginning, but these are just my opinions on how I view things. Let me talk about some behaviors that I think you should consider having. I think you should smile a lot and have fun. Okay, in other words, be positive. Smiling makes you feel good. It makes the person you're smiling at feel good. There's just no reason not to smile. And have fun in whatever you're doing. Be joyful. Be positive. Recognize and appreciate your blessings. As human beings, we tend to focus on the negative. Don't be that way. Focus on the positive. Recognize and appreciate the blessings that you have in your life. Some people suggest before you go to sleep at night, think about 3 blessings that you have. When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, think of 3 blessings that you have, just to put your mind in the frame of a positive approach. I believe in that and think that's a good approach. Be happy from the inside out. What I mean by that is, don't be looking for others to bring you happiness. That's a mistake I think a lot of us make, that we depend on other people in our life to bring us happiness. And really, happiness is from you. And maybe happiness is not the right word. It's more about contentment. I think sometimes we get so hung up in trying to seek happiness that we think it's this some wonderful state of bliss, and we're frustrated because we don't get there very often. Well, that's probably a little bit too high of an expectation. We need to be content. And I believe contentment is a choice that you make from the inside out, not dependent on other people allowing you to be that way. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be self-deprecating. If you make a mistake, admit it. If you stumble and fall, admit it. Make fun of yourself if you do something stupid. There's no reason to take yourself too seriously. Lighten up a little bit. Take your responsibility seriously, but don't necessarily take yourself too seriously. Be yourself, but be reasonable. What I mean by that is I'm all in favor of everyone being themselves and being proud of who they are. Well, no matter what the situation, what your personality, that you got to be reasonable because you're in relationships with other people. My example here maybe is a little bit silly, but let's say you're a vegetarian. That's who you are. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But that doesn't mean you should go into a restaurant and if someone's eating a steak, turn the table over or set the person on fire or shoot them in the head. That's not reasonable. Okay, you can be yourself, but allow other people to be their self as well. You have to have an open mind and respect other people. Don't follow your passion blindly. This one may sound a little negative, but I'm back to my American Idol people. If you want to be the next American Idol, if that's your passion, try out one time. See how it goes. If you don't make it, I don't think you should try out every single season for the rest of your life because you're not going to gain anywhere. You have to be a productive member of society. You have to make a living. You have to take care of yourself and your family. Your passion can be a hobby. You can do it as a personal thing, but if you only try to follow your passion, you're going to be frustrated and unfortunately maybe not too productive. But do bring passion to whatever you're doing. Whatever you're experiencing in life, whether it be as a student or a Beta Alpha Psi member or a tutor or a friend, just be passionate about it. Be excited about it and try to do the best that you can. I'm a believer that you need to get up and moving early. I believe you need to get to bed at a decent time and get some sleep, which is healthy for you, and get up and be productive early. I think you do better when you get moving earlier in the morning. That's my opinion. Not shared by a lot of people, but that's how I feel. Pay attention to details. The small stuff matters. I think we get so caught up in the big picture and the glory and the end result that we sometimes lose track of the details and the small things that add up. A lot of small things added up create the big picture and the big things that take place. You have to be able to communicate effectively. Okay, I don't care what line of work you're in, what situation you're in, because you're in relationships with other people, you have to be able to communicate. But know who you're communicating with. If you're texting with your employer, don't use the poop emoji, okay? That just doesn't seem very professional or very appropriate. Think about who you're dealing with and change your game to accommodate the person that you're communicating with. Be inquisitive and ask questions. This is one that I didn't learn until much too late or not too late, but later in life. But it's okay not to know something. I used to be afraid if I thought someone else thought I should know something, I was very embarrassed if I did not know it. And sometimes I would fake knowing it just to avoid that embarrassment. That's ridiculous. If you don't know what someone's talking about or you don't know what it is, just say, I don't know what you're talking about and I don't know what that is. Don't fake it. You'll learn from the experience. And if they make fun of you for not knowing it, then you don't need to be talking to them anyways. I mean, that's ridiculous. Help others and seek help. We live in a time of depression and suicide, and there's a lot of people out there struggling. You may be one of those people. You're not alone. Anything you are struggling with, I promise you there are others out there struggling with the same thing, and there's lots of resources to seek help and also try to help others. But don't think you're alone in this. Don't let emotions override logical thinking. This formula right here is not mine. I read this in an article. But the outcome of a situation is equal to the event plus your reaction. So if you think about that, you may not have a lot of control over the event, but how you react to that event overall determines the outcome. And sometimes we let our emotions override. If your emotions are controlling your brain, your logical part of your brain shuts down. And I think we see that a lot in today's world with the political divisions that we have. People get emotional about stuff and they lose logic. And that it's not really productive. When you get into a big fight or a big shouting match with a friend because your emotions kicked in, you're letting your reaction dictate the outcome in a negative way instead of a positive way. I believe everyone should perform community service. I think by performing community service, you get perspective on other people's lives who maybe aren't as well off as you are. you get perspective of other people who are performing community service and where they come from. I think too much in life, we worship or look up to or aspire to be like people that really we shouldn't, whether that be famous people, athletes, Hollywood stars. We think we need to be famous and luxurious and elegant and rich and all that good stuff. And a lot of times you'll find out what life's really about by doing some community service and helping people who really need help. It'll really put in perspective where you are in life. Enjoy the journey and the company you're with. Don't focus too much on the destination. Another human problem we have, we focus so much on where we want to be that we don't enjoy where we are in the process, in the journey, in the people that we associate with. I have a silly example here, but when I was a kid, we used to go to Myrtle Beach as a family. I have two brothers, my mom and dad, there were 5 of us, and my grandparents would, one set of my grandparents would go. This was back before seatbelts, and we'd be sitting on laps and laying in the back window, and it was very dangerous, but we'd go to the beach. I'll tell you, I don't remember a lot of details about being at the beach on vacation, but I have vivid memories of the car ride going down to the beach with my grandparents and the stories they told and the games we played. But my point is, I do remember the journey and the company that I was with, not necessarily the destination. So overall, you should be positive. You should be nice. You should be open-minded. You should work hard. You should help other people and control yourself. You are in control of you. The only thing in your life that you have control over is you and how you behave, how you react, the decisions you make, and how you handle yourself. Let's move to the mindset. By mindset, just the frame of mind I think you should be in or try to be in to be successful. You need to define your core values, your mission statement. What's your purpose in life? It can be based on something spiritual, something environmental, something people related. I'm here to tell you that most of that is going to end up in the same. We all, in some fashion, want to belong. We want to be accepted, and we want to make a difference. So figure out how you want to do that and have your mindset in a way that helps you accomplish that in everything that you do. You have to have self-discipline. You have to have the behaviors and the discipline to perform according to the way things need to go in order for you to have an opportunity to be successful. And please don't be a victim. So many people want to play the victim card. I'm not good at this, or this person does, teachers don't like me, or I'm just not very good at taking tests, or whatever the case may be. Don't be a victim, be a champion. Be someone who rises above the circumstances and becomes a positive influence instead of a negative. It drives me crazy to hear people play the victim card, and it's always someone else's fault, and they're just this helpless, innocent victim. And I don't buy into that. I think you don't need to be making excuses. You need to be figuring out a way to be better. And a quote you maybe heard me say before, Abraham Lincoln said this: whatever you are, be a good one. I don't care if you're the president of the company or you're the lowest level clerk in that company. You should be being the best that you can be in performing that task, or whether it's being a friend or a student or a child or a parent or a significant other. Be the best that you can be. There's no reason not to be, because good things come when you try to do your best. Let me try to tie this all together for you now. It's all about opportunity. There are opportunities in any given situation. Whether you're in a small firm, a large firm, a private company, whether you're in government, whatever you're doing, there are opportunities. There's opportunities in everything that you do. Don't look for situations that you think have opportunities. Look for opportunities in the situations that you are in. And I promise you, they're all around you. With hard work, a good attitude, and open mind, you're going to find those opportunities. They're in internships. They're in the Beta Alpha Psi events, the date, what you're attending today, networking events. Look for those opportunities and take advantage of as many of those opportunities as you can. Another failure of mine when I was younger, I didn't necessarily take advantage of all the opportunities that I could have. I was kind of shy. I was introverted. I was a little bit of a scaredy cat. And so I didn't always venture into things that I wasn't sure of. And I think I missed out on some opportunities, and that caused me to be a little bit of a late bloomer in my professional maturity process. So take advantage of those opportunities. And guess what? Opportunities create the potential for success. You don't get to just jump right to success. You have to be in situations that have opportunities. You have to take advantage of those opportunities, work hard, have a little bit of good fortune, and it generally leads to success. So here's the reality. Accept your realities, the parameters that I laid out in the beginning. Exercise positive behavior, develop a healthy mindset, seek those opportunities, and you'll have a greater potential for success. Success is often viewed as good luck. You see someone else being successful, and a lot of times we'll say, oh, they're just a lucky person. Everything they touch turns to gold. They always fall into good situations. I don't buy that. There's a little bit of randomness in life, but a lot of things that happen are not necessarily because of luck. They're because of all the things that I've just talked about. Failure is often viewed as bad luck. A lot of times that's our own failure. We have a failure, we say, oh, that's just bad luck. I don't buy that either. Really, outcomes are heavily influenced by our choices and behaviors. It may look like good luck or may look like bad luck, but fundamentally, most of the things that happen to us in some fashion are related to our choices and our behaviors. You control you. Like I said earlier, and I've said this several times during the presentation, you are the only thing you can control. So be positive, be disciplined, respectful, open-minded, work hard, develop and nurture your relationships, enjoy the journey, enjoy the company, and I think you will have the opportunity to be successful. That's all I got to say.
Well, I'd say that's some pretty good advice from some old bald guy in 2020. Does anybody have any questions? Don't everybody speak at once.
I'll answer anything.
I had a question.
Sure.
You talked to us about developing our own missions and visions. What would you say yours is?
Mine is, I've lost my camera. Hang on just a second so I can see them. There we go. Mine is somewhat spiritually based. I'm a religious individual, and I want to make a difference every day in somebody's life. I want to treat other people in a fashion that either influences them or helps them get better. And through that process, it makes me better. That's kind of that's my mission statement, if you want to call it that. I'm not always good at it, I'll be honest with you. Life, stress, the buttholes of the world get in the way, okay? But generally speaking, I try to have that mindset. And I haven't always been that way. I used to be, as I said, shy and introverted and a little bit afraid to interact with other people. And as I've matured and gone through my profession and served in leadership roles at the state and national level in our firm, I've just gained so much engagement with other people that have made me a better person. And I want to try to do that with other people that I associate with. So good question. Hope that answered it.
Thank you. It did.
What made you choose accounting?
Okay, well, I was a sophomore in high school, and I wanted to play shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds, and quickly determined that wasn't going to happen. I actually wanted to be a rock star. I formed a band, and we were horrible. I wanted to be a magician. I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. But in my high school, we took a bunch of aptitude tests my sophomore year, and I scored very well on analytical skills. So engineering and accounting were kind of the two fields that lined up with my skill set. And I quite frankly chose accounting because I was good at math and I didn't like dealing with people. And magically, accounting is not much about math anymore because computers do all the mathematical calculations. It's more about analysis and interpretation. And I mostly deal with people, which is the opposite of what I thought I'd be doing when I got into accounting. So it all worked out. It was an opportunity that I was approaching because of one set of circumstances, and it worked out very well for me, completely in the opposite direction. And I love it. It's about helping people. In school, it's all about the bond amortization and IFRS and whatever else they're teaching you these days. But in reality, we're helping people every day make decisions, solve financial problems, comply with the law, tax related or otherwise. We're very trusted advisors to our clients, and that comes with a lot of gratification. I really, really am thrilled with what I do. I can't say I'm elated and dancing in the halls every day, but every day when I leave here, I feel like I've accomplished something and made a difference. Good question. Anybody else? I don't mean to come across like a know-it-all because I'm not. I'm just very passionate about my beliefs in what I've just talked about today. So please don't take me the wrong way. I'm not trying to be boastful or arrogant or anything like that or talk down to you. I'm just trying to encourage you and excite you to embrace life and embrace opportunities and relationships, and good things will come from that.
Okay, I got a question in the chat. It says, I liked that you mentioned about how people can let their emotions take priority over their reasoning. What kind of problems, particularly in the business world, do you see that kind of thinking cause?
Well, in the business world, it's still about relationships. And if you react emotionally or overreact because of emotions, you will damage those relationships. And sometimes those damages are irreparable or a long time in getting repaired. I'm also working with my colleagues, my people that I work with here. And if I am having a bad situation and I blow up or explode or use profanity or whatever, I think I lose respect. They lose respect for me. And so your behavior and letting your emotions take over. My example, and this has nothing to do with business, but I am a horrible person when I'm driving a car. Okay, I'm a horrible person. I am so mad at other drivers. I yell, I scream, I call them. I do things I would never do face to face or in public. And I've tried to work on that. I think some people do that online. When you're behind the anonymity of a computer screen, sometimes we're a little bit rougher and not as nice as we should be as we would be in person. But to answer the question, emotions can just damage relationships if you're not careful. So you've got to be careful. Take a step back, take a deep breath. And here's I'll say this. You have so much energy and emotion to go around. Be wise in how you allocate those two resources. If you expend all your emotions and energy on stuff that doesn't matter, you're going to exhaust yourself and not have any energy or emotion left for the things that do matter. So ration out your energy and emotions, and that kind of sometimes helps you keep those emotions in check. Excellent question.
I have a question. How has the pandemic affected the way you view doing business?
Well, at first, I felt like the pandemic was, I'm talking in early March. I felt like the pandemic was not a big deal, that we were overreacting to it. Of course, I was wrong. And so we have learned, and I say we, I'm meaning society in general, we have learned we can do a lot of things remotely, such as what we're doing right now. We can work remotely. We can solve a lot of problems remotely. I think we've figured out ways to be more efficient because of that. what worries me more than anything about the pandemic is just the long-term effect of it on our economy, on our businesses, and let alone our health for those that have, been unfortunate enough to test positive. It's worrisome, but I wash my hands a ton more than I ever have in my life. I never shake hands anymore, which was always a very common business practice. I'm a little bit of a touchy-feely kind of guy, pat people on the shoulder. I don't do that anymore. We don't have as many in-person meetings, very few as a matter of fact, unless we can socially distance. We wear a mask whenever I leave my office. I put my mask on. I have found out, by the way, I'm much better looking with a mask on, so I should have probably worn it tonight and it would have been a much better presentation for you all. But it's just causing us to rethink how we do things. And our clients, our business clients have had to rethink how they do business. And the restaurant industry is totally turned upside down. And it's a once in a lifetime experience that we didn't see coming and caught us off guard. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. I think it's just something we've not experienced, and we're still learning and still trying to get through it. And we'll hopefully get through it and get back to some sense of the way things used to be, but I don't think we're ever going to get back completely. I just don't think it's going to be possible. It's my opinion.
I have a question that kind of piggybacks off of her question.
Okay.
Are there anything, like any of the changes that you've seen, like Somerville and other businesses make, that you think should be a permanent change? You think that they work much better this way than they did previously?
Similar to what I've already said, I think we have found we can do a lot of things virtually or remotely that's not necessary. For example, we do a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot, but we do continuing education and training. And sometimes that involves traveling to a site to have that training conducted. Now, if it's a nice site, like a resort or something, that's worthwhile. But like if I'm driving to Charleston, let's say, to have a meeting, that's 2 hours of time of driving up to Charleston and driving back for maybe a 1 hour meeting. If we can do that virtually, there's no reason for me to drive to Charleston if it's not necessary. Now, I think certain events need to be in person. You need to be able to get a little bit better read on body language, and the energy is a little bit better in a face-to-face meeting. But I just think there's a lot of things we can do like we're doing right now that don't necessarily have to take in person. I think you get more involvement because it's more convenient. You don't have to be at a certain physical location. And I think you're going to see that continue. I hope what does not continue is no fans at sporting events. I still find that weird to watch a sporting event and to be no fans. For some reason, that just weirds me out a little bit. Hopefully we can get back to that not being the case. But virtual meetings for things, I think, are wonderful.
Anybody else have any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Well, thank you very much, old bald guy. That was a very interesting presentation. I know I learned a lot of great wisdom, and I find it very hard to believe personally that you used to be very shy. But I take your word for it. But
most people do, but there was a time that you wouldn't have recognized me.
Well, there's a lot of times that I don't recognize you now. It's just because you're in wigs and dressed up as Kiss.
Yeah, I can change my look.
Yeah, we really appreciate your support, Somerville's support for Beta Alpha Psi, and appreciate the patience and things that you've given us this year in all these difficult, unprecedented times. But thank you so much for your presentation. Like I said, I've found it very interesting, and I hope everyone else probably did as well. And for those of you who are attending, we will be back here in Zoom next week, and we'll be hearing from Settle and Stiltmaker. So they'll be speaking to us. I'm not sure what their topic is, but they'll be speaking to us next week.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I really enjoy having the opportunity to talk to you all. You all have great opportunities. Be excited. Go get it. That's all you can do. Go get it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.